Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me this morning. Did you have a good time at the party last night? Good. Then give high grades to Tracy. She worked on this very hard. I don't know about you, but I had a great morning this morning. The top news was that Apple is announcing that they will be releasing new emojis coming this June. I'm just waiting for this to come. Let me start. My name is Sharon Schussheim again, and I'm the CIO for Checkpoint for the past 7 quarters. In the next 25 minutes, I'm planning to share with you some of my personal insights as the person who's responsible for securing the Checkpoint environment. May 12, 2017. Does this ring a bell to you? Do you remember what you were doing at that day? Let me tell you my personal story. May 12th was a Friday. Friday is a weekend day in Israel, and I was driving my kids back from a perfect surfing session. By the way, that's my daughter surfing. I also had plans for dinner at that night, as I was responsible for making dinner that night. Yeah, I wish. Suddenly, started to receive endless number of WhatsApp messages and phone calls. This is when WannaCry started. Dinner was not served by me. It was ordered from the outside, and the family didn't enjoy my participation at the dinner. I was engaged in endless number of teleconferences, and I'm proud to say that 36 hours later, we called things back to normal. There was zero effect of WannaCry on my environment. Bear with me for a while, and I'll share with you later on how did we address WannaCry at Checkpoint. Here we are opening 2018, and already fighting Meltdown and Spectre. The key question that I'm asking myself is, how do I keep my environment safe in 2017 as I was able to do that how do I keep my environment safe in 2018? As the CIO for Checkpoint, who's also responsible for security, as the CISO at Checkpoint reports directly to me, I'm pulled between 2 different directions. Between my mission to promote the IT infrastructure and support the growth of the company, and between the fact that I'm the custodian for security of the company. Between implementation of the most advanced CRM systems, the most advanced collaboration tools, and public cloud infrastructure, and between the fact that threat techniques are advancing rapidly and that new malicious tools are practically outpacing our security level. This, in fact, has become a very personal issue for all of us in this room. A recent survey that I read gives a CISO an average of not more than 16 months in his role. And the question that I'm asking myself is this really our destiny? Personally, I believe that we can beat the odds. Let me tell you about my history at Checkpoint. I started as the VP for Sales Operation. 4 years later, took the responsibility for technical services, a role in which I'm responsible for supporting more than 100,000 customers around the globe. And lately, took the accountability for the IT infrastructure, a role in which I'm making use of the same technologies that I used to sell and support. If you think about this, I have a 360-degree knowledge of how these technologies are sold, used, and supported. Over time, I learned some lessons that I would like to share with you. I'll start with 5 insights. Some of them might look obvious to you, but I still think they're worthwhile restating. Number 1, it's not all about WannaCry. We are not superheroes all the time. This is 99% routine, day-to-day, tedious job. Patching systems, addressing endless vulnerability reports, segmenting your environment, and dealing with daily incidents. Number 2, these are the very basic tools that we all use every day that have become the platform for ongoing daily attacks. And it calls for preventing them from reaching your organization, both at the perimeter as well as on your endpoints. Number 3, it's beyond my headquarters. I need to support and protect 90+ sales offices around the globe, 4 research and development centers, 3 private cloud in co-located centers, and 4,500 employees traveling all the time, using their mobile devices and laptop, and accessing corporate resources. Number 4, mobile. These cannot be ignored any longer. We talk about malicious applications, but we're really not doing enough about this. A survey that we ran at Checkpoint shows that only 1 to 2% of enterprises are really doing something in order to protect mobile devices. And no, managing devices is not securing mobile devices. Last but not least, humans. Without the misjudgment of humans, 70% of all of this would have not happened. So how do we address this constant dilemma? How do we beat the odds? My conclusion is that whatever we do, it must include 3 aspects. First one is technology, but that's not enough. Choosing the right technology is not enough. You have to support that by the right policies. And third, you can never forget the human factor. Let's start with people. We train them when they onboard. It might take between a day to 5 days of training. But let's be serious. With the amount of information that we throw on them in this onboarding training, we'll be lucky if they remember how to order their lunch. They don't remember the security training. We then follow up with ongoing sessions and tests, but aren't we all human? We tend to forget. If you want my 2 cents, I believe in 2 things. I believe in empowering my users and creating safety nets. Here is how we do that at Checkpoint. This is me working on this presentation with an outside consultant, trying to send a presentation to this designer. I immediately receive an email back from our DLP solution that explains to me the risks of sharing corporate information with someone who's outside the company. Why do I call this empowerment? I don't need to remember what happened 2 years ago or 6 months ago when I was trained. When I'm taking the action, I'm receiving a feedback that explains to me the risk, and not only explains to me the risk, but gives me the power to make a decision. I can make a decision whether to discard the email or to send it. If I'll decide to send it, then I'll be asked to give justification to why am I sending it. This is what I call empowerment of my employees. In this next example, I'm asked to approve payments to external vendor. We use City Direct at Checkpoint. I never keep the URL. I will always Google for this. And this is a perfect place for phishing attacks. Well, at Checkpoint, we've implemented our zero phishing technology, and I'm not allowed to put my credentials in the system unless zero phishing technology has cleared and make sure that this is a clear website and not a phishing attack. Moreover, if by any chance I used my corporate credential in a non-Checkpoint website, zero phishing will immediately alert me and will tell me that I've been using my corporate credential in a non-Checkpoint website and will immediately ask me to update my corporate website, my corporate credentials. Again, this is what I call a safety net. Policies. There's no way around it. Decisions and policies have to be made. Policies, if you wish, are the glue between the technology and the people. But this glue must be dynamic glue, as policies are not the target, they are the mean. And they have to fit the business needs. Here is a quick example. When Checkpoint came out with threat extraction technology, it was an obvious decision for me to implement that across the organization. Obvious decision? Well, not exactly. It took us 24 hours to realize that our legal department were not able to exchange and edit documents that they exchanged with their outside consultants. We then had to update our policy in a way that every incoming document is first going through threat extraction, converted to a safe PDF, but then in parallel, the documents are going through a threat emulation solution. And once the document is cleaned by a threat emulation solution, then the original document in its original format will be also available for the legal department to work on. Policies have to be adaptive and meet the business needs. Last but not least, technologies. You either love them or hate them. For me, walking out of Israel, there's more than 500 startups that are engaged in developing security solutions. Every second day, I'll be receiving a meeting or a call from one of these startups, and they will explain to me why, if I'm not using their solution, I'm not protected. Their opening session in 2 out of 3 meetings will be, so what keeps you awake at night? Guys, this is an ask from the salespeople and marketing people in this audience. You have to be more creative. It doesn't work on us any longer. Find something else. Still, if I need to share with you my guidelines to how do I choose the best security technology, then I have 3 rules. The first one is prevention first. I cannot engage myself in looking at the back mirror. I want to block, and I can. Second one is choosing a solution that is consistent across my organization, consistent across my headquarters and sales offices, applied for my servers, endpoints, and mobile devices. Otherwise, I'm fighting leaking roofs all the time. And last, consolidation. Like all of you in this room, I don't have the luxury of enough resources to manage it all. I cannot implement, nor leverage, nor manage endless number of solutions. The only way it will work for me is if I'll use limited number of solution sets, solutions that will cover my base. And the other only way that it will work for me is if these solutions will be managed from a small 1 to 2 management consoles. here are 3 examples to technologies that we've implemented at Checkpoint. Remember my WannaCry Friday? Well, initial intelligence reports suggested a ransomware attack and suggested that the attack vector was an email spam. We felt secure as all of our emails are again incoming emails, are coming through threat extraction and threat emulation. But shortly after, it turned out to be that the main attack vector is actually an SMB vulnerability. Guys, it took Checkpoint no more than 43 minutes to come out with new signatures addressing this new vulnerability. It took me another 5 minutes to push these new signatures both to my perimeter gateways as well as to my internal firewalls in order to prevent potential lateral movement. Last but not least, my confidence level was building up as few months earlier we were pushing our anti-ransomware endpoint blade to all our endpoints. And this is how we kept safe from WannaCry. Mobile devices. Remember I said you cannot ignore them any longer. Well, December 2017 alone, we've identified more than 100 high-risk incidents coming from mobile devices at Checkpoint. One of them was an employee of ours who was trying to sync his contacts from his mobile device to a laptop. He was downloading an application called Sync Manage that apparently is a keylogger. This application started to log his credential and everything that he was typing. Luckily, he was blocked. Imagine if it was my CFO that was downloading this application. We are all aware of the bring your own device challenges and the need to connect mobile devices to corporate assets. The first solution that comes in mind is a secure container. We have implemented Capsule Workspace at Checkpoint. It provides isolation on the device and encrypted access between the device and our corporate assets. We are all aware of the risks related to malicious mobile applications, but as I mentioned, not a lot of us are doing anything about this. At Checkpoint, we decided to implement SandBlast Mobile on all employees' mobile devices. Some of them have decided that they don't want to implement SandBlast Mobile on their device. And that has caused us to introduce a policy at Checkpoint in which if you don't have SandBlast Mobile on your device, you cannot use Capsule Workspace. You cannot access the corporate assets. Moreover, if the two are installed on your mobile and SandBlast Mobile identified a malicious application that was downloaded, then we will prevent the use of a Capsule Workspace that is installed on your machine. My takeaway from this is that mobiles cannot be ignored. Sometime there will be a usability cost, but we have to prevent malicious applications from downloading. Last but not least, I mentioned this is beyond my headquarters. Well, beyond my headquarters is also enabling public cloud. In the past year or so, I guess like most of you in this audience, I was engaged in developing my strategy towards security in the public cloud. By no means I feel like I nailed this all down, but there's 3 elements that I would recommend you also to follow. The first one is an implementation of a secure extension to your data center, to your on-premise data center in the public cloud. One that makes a use of our vSec technology to enable secure traffic between your on-premise data center and your public cloud data center, and at least another gateway that protects the public data center from the internet, incoming internet into it. The second factor is I suggest you would insist on automatic provisioning of any assets that are used in the public cloud. That's the only way that you'll be able to minimize deviation from your security policy. Last but not least, I recommend implementing governance tools that automatically will audit and make sure that you comply with your own policies. As a small examples, we've implemented governance tools that make sure that Amazon S3 buckets will never be opened to the public cloud. To summarize it all, in the past 11 years, since 2006, I've been working for the best security company in the world. Whatever you've seen here are implementations of Checkpoint technologies. I'm the customer number one of any new technology. Don't take me wrong. Sometimes it means drinking your own champagne, but sometimes it means eating your own dog food. It's not always fun. But choosing the right technology is only one part. You have to do your own bit. You have to develop the appropriate policies and not forget the human factor. Thank you very much.